Hello and welcome to this tutorial on how to make whiskey in your own bathroom. As you see, I've disguised myself slightly in order to avoid prosecution. And you might wonder, why do we want to make whiskey in the bathroom? Well, it has some of the main components that we need to make the whiskey. We have a sink, condensing dryer, a toilet, we have our steam room, good ventilation system in the ceiling, and we also have a heated floor. Some of the things that we will go through is making the malt, then making the mash from the malt, stilling, and then maturing the whole thing afterwards. So, first things first, let's go for the malting. So, what is malt, you might ask? Well, malt is basically just germinated grains. When you do germination of grains, they will convert starch and other components into sugar. That makes it much easier for the yeast to consume the sugar and convert it to alcohol. So, we got some whole wheat you can get in any shop. We'll add it to a tray. And from there, we'll soak the whole thing and leave it overnight in order to soak up. And then tomorrow, they will all be soaked up and are ready to germinate. And good morning to you. Now that we left the grains overnight, they should be all nice and soaked up and wet. So let's check it out. Yep, a big pile of grains. Make sure to rinse off all the excess water, otherwise you'll drown the bottom ones. And already now, they are getting quite tasty. As the germination, sprouting or malting is progressing, they will get sweeter and sweeter. So you can continue tasting them and just taste how the flavor is changing. In order for you guys to check out the sprouting, I put a handful in this small container here, put that camera on a time lapse with a picture every minute, and compress everything into about 10-20 seconds over a time period of about 4 days. And let's hope that makes for an interesting watch. Hello, and there you are again. Now they've been germinating for about 4 days, so let's take a look at how they become. And here, for example, we have one. You can see the stem going up here, quite a long one, and you can see the root coming out to the side. Normally, I would like the stem to be about the length of the grain. This one is a bit longer than what I normally would like it to have it, but in average they're all fine. And they reach the level of acrospire, which means about the length of the grain itself. So these ones are perfect. So we're done with the germination, and now we'll move on to making the mash. The first thing we need to do in order to make the mash is to do the kilning. Kilning means that we will heat them up in order to dry them up and also stop the germination. For those whiskies that need a peaty flavor, they would use peat to heat them up. But for the other whiskies, electricity is very normally used. And as I only have electricity, that's what we're going to use. So, put all the grains on the floor, put the floor heater to max, and we'll wait for a couple hours, and then it should be all nice and dry. And we should all be ready for the milling. And the next step in the process of making the mash is to do the milling. So now that these ones have been lying down here on the floor, drying up on the hot electric heated floor, we can throw it into my smoothie maker and make a nice little grain smoothie. I've added a bit of water because that makes milling a lot easier. So, make a small notch in the aluminium, pour it all in. Do remember to put the lid on. It has happened to me a few times. I Doesn't look nice. And then off you go. This might take a bit of time because I got about 4 kilos of these ones to do. But I'll be back afterwards. Stay tight.
Hygiene is of course very important when you're making high quality products like whiskey, so do make sure to wash well up before you do any of the operations instructed in this tutorial. That's the tip of today.
As promised, I'm back. And now all the malt has been milled down to this mash here of about 10-12 liters. And the next step would be to get all the husk and all the crap in there out. But before that, there is one more thing we have to do. And that's to make sure that all the sugar is dissolved in the water. The normal procedure within the whiskey industry is to heat up this mash to about 60-70 degrees for 2 hours. In that way, all the sugar will be dissolved, and after you do the silting, you are sure that you're getting all the nutrition that you want in the water. To do this, I have my trusted steam room here. This one is already preheated now, and we'll throw the whole bucket in there. I don't have a lid for this one, but we'll tie this plastic bag across, and that should do the job. Yeah. Oops. Well, about 60 degrees, but we'll give it another 2 hours. Okay. So, let's move on with the next step of making the mash. Now everything has been poured into this container, and now all the sugar should be dissolved in the liquids. And in order to get off all the husk and all the other crap that we don't want, we're going to siphon this off through a filter. So, if you look at what I have here, that is my trusted glass bucket with a filter on it. It's a normal filter that you can get to make juice out of berries. And next step will be to pour this through the filter. Make sure to get everything, otherwise it's going to be less whiskey. This is disgusting stuff, to be honest. And now the pouring is a bit slower, getting all the crap there silting off. Wow. Damn. Well, it might put off a lot of people from making whiskey looking at how this stuff looks. Well, that should do it. Let's leave that stuff to drain through. When it's drained through, we will be ready to add the yeast. So while we're waiting for this filter to drain off, there is one little thing that I would like to share with you guys. And that is, there's always going to be a lot of mess when you're doing these operations. So make sure to install a remote controlled car wash in your steam room. And that way you can clean up everything in the simplest possible manner there is. That's the trick of today. Take care.